Please let me know if you can't hear me. It's quite a long distance from the microphone. This petition was drafted in the middle of winter when the first proposals became known for the destruction of Milton Road as we know it. It's acquired 3,356 signatures, half of which are online and half of which are in hard copy, obtained by a lot of hard work by your voters throughout the town. The meaning, the wording rather, of the petition is: the Greater Cambridge City Deal are proposing to widen Milton Road, chopping down the beautiful cherry trees, removing the grass verges and replacing them with acres of tarmac. As many as 83% of the trees on Milton Road are destined to be removed if these proposals go ahead. The local residents are horrified that their avenue will be turned into a treeless corridor, closing key routes into side streets and splitting the community in two. Recent research has encouraged towns and cities to plant trees and shrubs along roads, citing the environmental advantages not only for air quality, but also for the well-being of citizens by reducing stress. Grass verges, in addition to tree roots, help with drainage problems. Some cities in the UK have actually changed their road layouts to incorporate trees. Cambridge should be at the forefront of such developments. There are many alternatives to widening the road. Now, as you heard, that was addressed to the city deal. So why am I bringing it to you, the County Council? Well, the reason is that when you delegated to the city deal, you delegated authority for the exercise of their functions. You actually said to delegate exercise of their functions to the Executive Board to the extent necessary to pursue and achieve the objectives of Greater Cambridge City Deal. You didn't delegate responsibility. Indeed, I don't believe you can. So the ultimate responsibility for those functions, including highways, remains with you. The second reason is that when City Deal comes to an end, either in its natural course, or if it hurries because they run out of money, or because the changed attitude of the new Prime Minister suggests that we no longer give to those who have, but they move money elsewhere. If that happens, you will be left dealing with the outcome. If that includes the wreck of Milton Road, there will be a lot of very angry voters whose ire will be directed against you, of course, not against the non-existent city deal. And the third reason relates to funding. The latest version of the Do Something plans for Milton Road appear to show not that 83% of the trees will be removed, but that every tree will be removed. Some will be planted, though only on one side of the road. But it's completely unclear whether or not the Greater Cambridge City Deal's funding will allow it to pay for tree planting. Is that transport infrastructure? It might well be argued that it isn't. So, if they cut down all the trees and then say, but we're not allowed to replant them, you will be presented with a very short-term decision as to whether or not you are going to fund a lot of planting of new trees to replace the ones that could have been left there. So that's why I think it's your business. What do the residents want their county council to do? Well, we think you ought to exercise a measure of oversight of the city deal by requiring regular reports from them about issues that affect you. Secondly, and this is an odd one, we think you ought to remind your officers who it is that takes the decisions at Shire Hall. I would have thought that was an extraordinary and unnecessary remark, but one quite senior officer of the council was recently heard telling a local pressure group that they didn't have to bother about the fact that they weren't on local liaison forums and so forth, because ultimately the decisions would be taken by the officers. I don't think that's right, and I don't think you think that's right either. When you receive advice we think you need to challenge deeply the officer's advice and insist on proper replies, supported by real evidence, not waffle and generalities which justify the officer's prejudices. Above all, we think you ought to delay any irreversible destruction of the existing trees and verges until all other methods of resolving the congestion problem have been properly tried and tested. The avenue of trees on Milton Road were recently described to me by a resident in another part of the city as one of the glories of Cambridge. They're an asset created by your far-sighted predecessors, and now they're in your custody. Please ensure that they are not wantonly destroyed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister, for your petition. Right, members, the petition can now be discussed for a maximum of 15 minutes if you desire. You will need to decide how to respond to the petition at this meeting. Councillor Scott.
Thank you. Labour has always been for trees and verges, and I stand here for trees and verges now. Thanking Charles Nesbitt for bringing the petition to the County Council, and Maureen Hayes, Claire Hughes and the many who assisted in ensuring that more than 3,000 signatures were received. I note Labour's support for trees and verges because I want the City Deal Board and the Assembly and us here to remember this history, affirming this country's past commitment for trees and verges, a commitment that must be present and future for the City Deal, Milton Road and the wards and divisions surrounding. The Garden City movement led into the New City movement, and it wanted everyone to have the free gifts of nature, fresh air, sunlight, breathing room and playing room in all needed abundance. Renowned Labour and Fabian member H.G. Wells wanted for everyone all the beauty that is here and more also, and none of the distresses. Even one of our Fabians died in support of trees. George Bernard Shaw was trimming an apple or cherry blossom in his garden and fell, and consequently he died of pneumonia, which often follows the hip breaking that affected him. He ended his life in that way. The Attlee government introduced the New Town movement complementing Garden City. The New Towns Act of 1946 and Town and Country Planning Act 1947 created a revolutionary machinery for positive town construction. 28 new towns were constructed over the next half century, with Labour ministers determined to bring the project to fruition. Hugh Dalton, Richard Crossman, Antony Greenwood. Trees at roadside, along verges and pedestrian and cycle segregation are major new town features, together with well-treed extensive parks and green wedges lined by trees and verges coming into the centre of town. We have an assurance that trees, verges and public realm will be included in every workshop for Milton Road Local Liaison Forum, and this is the message coming from us here at the County Council to the City Deal Board and Assembly. Trees matter, verges matter, trees count, verges count. They count for Cambridge, they count for Milton Road. We want, and I will be asking, a commitment from the City Deal Assembly and Board that if in the end construction requires removal of any single one of the trees in Milton Road, then the City Deal monies return to Milton Road, mature trees lining Milton Road's verges, making Milton Road the impressive vista it should be, a lead into Cambridge of which us, all of us, can be proud. And I commend the petition to the county, and I ask that the county send it to the City Deal Board and Assembly as coming from the county because of our having delegated the matter to the City Deal Board. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hunt.
Thank you, Chair. I think I'd have to declare an interest in this matter as I was actually born in Milton Road, and therefore it's always been a very special entrance to Cambridge for me. I think Cambridge is special, Cambridge is unique, and it isn't Harlow or Milton Keynes, and I think the the city centre is approached by roads and vistas, not by transport corridors. And I think that we should be aware, and in this case I'm urging balance and reasonable thought, because Cambridge is not just a place to do business, it's a place where people have homes and they want to have communities that thrive, and they are not just houses along a route into a trading centre. I think there is potential huge damage being done to our environment if these trees are needlessly attacked. And I recognise the need to move people around for the benefit of business and private lives. I do, however, have experience with this mini Holland experience in the London Borough of Waltham Forest. And it's a nightmare. It's an Orwellian nightmare. Only the main roads work. All the back roads are blocked up. So when there's a traffic accident, the emergency services can't get there. They can't get the people into hospital. Please be very cautious about this mini Holland. Add to it the PCCPs, which really sound lovely, and workplace parking levies, and you end up with a place that people are not going to say, let's go to Cambridge, they're going to say, let's avoid Cambridge. It's a nightmare. So, I'm actually urging that a really considered view is taken by the City deal, and they do recognise that support for this vista and these trees comes not just from one side of this chamber, but across the chamber, and it comes from me.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Antony.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say thank you for bringing the petition, but also just to note that we had delegated the powers to make a decision to the City Board at City Deal. I just wanted to make that comment because I know there were questions raised in the petition about why is we as the county not doing something, and also to say that there have been no final decisions made as yet, and it's still going through consultation. So please do keep your feedback coming to us, and we will put forward what you have said that we have to go to the City Board. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Mr. Rowe, how much time do we have left?
About 8 minutes.
Very good. Councillor Bullen?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Smith, and the residents of the facility for bringing this to this chamber. I think we all remember that in a meeting not that long ago, we voted on whether we give this authority to the City Deal Board. My party voted unanimous against doing so. And as much as I hate to say I told you so, I think this is the first instance where that decision is going to come back and bite us. And I do feel for you and the residents, because this chamber cannot do anything. We've given away that authority. And if we also vote through the devolution deal, we're going to give even more authority from our highways to that assembly. So I think we as a chamber need to really seriously think about what we've done, learn from this, and consider whether we wish to take those powers back again from the City Deal Board. And I'm not sure that we can even do it. But I agree. I think it is an Orwellian scheme. It's outdated. It's been proven not to work elsewhere. And there are other schemes for easing congestion. And I give Liverpool as a prime example, where actually they've taken bus lanes away and taken traffic lights away, and it's actually eased congestion. So I firmly believe that the City Deal Board do need to look again at this idea and to have a look at all the other ideas before they decide to put it back to public consultation. I personally think it was a bad decision we made in the first place, and that this scheme is bad for the city and for the residents.
Thank you for that. Councillor Daly?
Thank you, Chairman. I welcome the petition. It's the view of the local people about their area, and they clearly care about it passionately. I would welcome some clarity about the legal situation, about the issue that has been raised by the petitioner on the delegation. Ultimately, I believe this authority retains overall responsibility for highways, so I think perhaps away from this meeting I would welcome some clarification on that. I've got great sympathy with the plight of these trees and the residents who care about them. You know, it's not easy if you're the one asked to cut it down with a chainsaw and it's in your area, it's unbelievably difficult, and trees are really important. Trees, these particular trees have been under threat many times over the years, and I think the residents are fairly fed up of having to mount this challenge over and over again. Officers of this council will be aware of my concern about overall loss of trees across the whole county. It's something which I am trying to address, and I do see this as the potential thin end of a wedge, which might ultimately, taken to its ultimate end, we could start looking at what to do with Jesus Green, Parker's Piece and Midsummer Common. These are special and important features of our landscape. However, there is a governance structure in place, as other people have said, and the City Deal, whether you agree with the plans or not, have carefully put out some very considered plans, and the place to talk about those is during this consultation. They are only plans, and I, for one, have heard that 3,300 odd residents are deeply unhappy about one element of those plans, and I think the City Deal needs to take very careful note about that, because it is their area. But we shouldn't undermine the governance of the City Deal and our partners who share responsibility in the City Deal, and therefore I would urge the City Deal to look at this petition very, very carefully and see whether there are more creative solutions and ways around it. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Henson?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for letting me speak. I'm in Milton Cross, miles away from Milton Road, and I've had 4 phone calls to me, because I'm not an internet user, and God knows how many that is, but I'm one of those. And I want to look at it from this point of view. You've got 3,300 residents in this paperwork. There's 3,300 voters. And we keep doing useless things and wasting money, in my opinion, in various places. And when you drive through these avenue of trees, they are part of our history. And also remember that the 3,300 voters will be the ones you won't get next year if you go against them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Henson. And Councillor Mann?
Thank you, Chair. To say I welcome the words from Councillor Scott. Maybe thanks so much for the history lesson. I didn't quite follow all of it. But I think history is quite important here, and Councillor Bullen mentioned the history of our delegations earlier, where his party and my party voted against the removal of powers from the Cambridge Joint Area Committee, which would, of course, have put us in a decision, with the City Council, put us in a position of being able to stop this scheme. Having said all that, I do welcome her words. I welcome the implication that her fellow Labour Party member, Councillor Lewis Herbert, will be working hard as a voting decision maker on the City Deal Executive Board to make sure this doesn't go through. That said, you'll have a white paper in front of you with what I would like to propose as a response to this petition. Do you want to read it out, Chair? Or?
Yes, and if you could make it clear, perhaps, that this is a statement rather than a motion.
Yeah.
But this is
hang on a second. Councillor, can you raise the point of order?
Yes, I am. Point of order on handling the petition. It's very clear that the petition should have called for an action in order to be heard. It's not up to this council to supply one. To supply one is 13 minutes into a 15-minute debate. It's not appropriate because we have to debate something. We've got about 2 minutes left. It's entirely appropriate.
Having taken legal advice on this matter, the reality is that anything put forward by any member simply will be a straight yes or no vote. So if you don't support what Councillor Manning is going to propose, then vote against it. There were also suggestions, I think, from Councillor Scott and indeed from Councillor Bailey of ways that Council might move forward, which we will come to. Councillor Manning.
So just to read out the wording. This Council wishes to express its opposition to any plan that would result in the removal of the majority of trees from Milton Road. Further, Council believes the measures contained in the City Deal do not represent efficient or desirable ways of tackling congestion and asks that more options be considered in the public consultation.
Thank you. We have no other speakers, so we have a series of...
Yeah, very simple response. It's not possible for us to digest that simple motion. For example, it talks about the majority of trees. So we don't know what schemes would or would not happen if the majority of trees were there, etc., etc. It's simply not possible to come to a rational decision. I therefore will be voting against.
Councillor Lee.
I wish to speak with the Chairman. Is it that you ran out of time, or that...
Very sorry, Councillor Lee. You did, and I did not write your name down. I do apologise. If you can keep it brief, then I shall, as a form of apology, allow you to rise.
That's very kind, Chairman. I should just like to make some very quick points. As Councillor Bailey mentioned, it's not the first time I've come to this chamber. I remember with colleagues opposing a similar move when I was Councillor of West Chesterton, and I'm glad that we were successful then. And all of the Liberal Democrats opposed the proposal for the changes on Milton Road at the City Deal Assembly. It is, as Mr Nesbitt suggested, I think a case of spending money rather than spending money wisely. And in this case, it really is the wrong way round, because so much that the City Deal is and should be doing is about reducing traffic and therefore reducing the need for schemes such as the one on Milton Road. And I think it's inappropriate that this is coming before the effects of those changes are introduced. And thank you for your forbearance, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Lee. Councillors Kavanagh and Walsh. Sorry, I forgot the name for a minute, actually. You didn't indicate to speak previously. We have reached the time.
It's actually a point of order.
Okay,
I was inspired by you.
Councillor Kavanagh, you can be as inspired as you like. We are not standing to speak.
Sorry, no.
Councillor Walsh is making a point of order, which I shall be very interested to hear which part of the Constitution it relates to.
Well, I'm no constitutional lawyer, Mr. Chair, but I mean, is there any power you have, Mr. Chair, to extend the debate? Because this motion does not actually relate just to the trees, it relates to the measures contained in the City Deal, all of them. We can't debate that in 30 seconds.
No.
This holds the process of content.
So the constitutional position is that we accept the petition. You are entitled to debate the petition for 15 minutes. Council then will decide what action to take, and it has been left fairly open. And I read from the notes, it may decide to take the actions the petition requests, not to take the action requested, to commission further investigation, for example, by the relevant committee. So on that basis, it is fairly fluid. But what is very clear is that there should be no debate of any of the proposals. So it's a clear vote, yes or no. Councillor Cash.
I'm sorry, Chairman, I must challenge the evidence we received in that case. In accepting the petition, petition guidelines, types of petitions, format of petitions. The petition submitted to the Council must include the following: a clear statement of your concerns and what you want the Council to do. It did not include the second. On a subsequent page, it states clearly the petitions will not be accepted unless they're in the correct format. It's missing. Now, I was perfectly content for us all to have this debate because I think it's an important subject. But to be dragged into a 2-minute discussion on actually a motion put forward, which we are answering on the basis of an ordinary debate, where the time is unlimited, into compressing into 2 minutes, is wholly unreasonable. The petition actually should not have been accepted under those rules.
Thank you, Councillor Cash. I did seem to recall that Mr. Nesbitt did make a series of proposals about how we might proceed.
We have a written petition in front of us. That is the petition we've heard. Speaking to the petition is not the petition.
Well, I think Councillor Cash on that note, I shall take further legal advice.
We might have to be sorry, but the Chair wants to respond to the
Right. Councillor Cash, I think the first point I would make is that this would have been a more useful point to raise before the meeting began, or indeed at the beginning of the debate. But anyway, given that it wasn't, the way I intend to treat this is as follows. Councillor Manning has put forward a statement that he wishes the Council to vote on. Councillor Bailey has put forward a proposal, I understand, in that you wanted to refer this for further investigation.
To the city deal, I think I said.
Right. And Councillor Scott put forward initially the fact that you wanted to put the City Deal board to take our views into account.
It was that we referred the petition to the City Deal board with our imprimatur that we want to take it into account. Yes.
Happy to.
In which case, we will now take votes, and we will take 3, and we will take them in chronological order. We will start with Councillor Scott's proposal. We will then move on to yours, Councillor Bailey, and then we will move to Councillor Manners. And it's up to members. Do you wish to drop yours on the Bailey?
Perfectly happy to go, Chris.
We will then have 2 votes. The first will be on Councillor Scott's proposal. Members, please pay attention because I don't want to have to go through this again. We will take a vote firstly on Councillor Scott's proposal, or suggestion rather, that this is referred to the City Deal Executive with the views as expressed in the Chamber. And the second vote will be on the statement, it is not a motion but a statement, as submitted by Councillor Manning. And it is up to you to vote yes or no in support of either of those 2 positions. Everybody clear?
Yes.
Mrs. Rowe, please.
Members, please press the button marked present. Members in favour of Councillor Scott's proposal, please press the button marked yes. Members against Councillor Scott's proposal, please press the button marked no. Members wishing to abstain, please press the button marked abstain. Chairman, I'm now closing the vote. The result of the vote is 54 votes in favour, 2 against, no abstentions. The proposal is therefore carried.
Thank you, Mrs. Councillor Manning, do you wish still Council to vote on your statement, or are you happy for what we've just agreed to go for?
We would like to vote on my statement.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Rowe, if you'd be so kind.
Members, please press the button marked present. Members in favour of Councillor Manning's statement, please press the button marked yes. Members against, please press the button marked no. Members wishing to abstain, please press the button marked abstain.
Is this an avoidable user error?
I'm now closing the vote. Chairman, the result of the vote is 22 votes in favour, 33 against and 1 abstention. The proposal is therefore.
Thank you, Mrs. Rowe. We now move to the next item on today's agenda, which is Treasury Management 14.